My name's Todd Mersch. I'm the Executive Vice President of Sales and Marketing for XCellAir and one of the founders of the company. Really, XCellAir is focused on improving the quality of experience for Wi-Fi and small cells, basically. And what we've found in the last, the first 9 to 12 months of the company is that there's a really big draw and need to optimize really the service provided by Wi-Fi and to help carriers and operators more effectively use unlicensed spectrum as part of their network strategy. So if you look at the MSO strategy, they have a great position in the home, and for them to grow and to continue to maintain that position, they need to have a wireless service. And that wireless service starts by providing Wi-Fi in the last 50 feet in the home, and everything we have at home now is running over Wi-Fi. But it also expands out into public areas and on the move, whether it be leveraging home spots where it's multiple SSIDs and you've got your private network as well as the public network that they're transmitting, or otherwise, Wi-Fi kind of formulates their foundation for providing that wireless service to compete with the MNOs. Right now, it's not necessarily a replacement concept, right? They can't necessarily come in and say, just use us, you don't need any sort of cellular service. But the idea for them is to build those relationships. We just saw Comcast reviving their MVNO relationship with Verizon. But for them to actually make money from this and to be cost competitive, they have to rely on that Wi-Fi network more often than the MVNO network. MVNO fees are going to be more expensive, going to cost them a lot of money. And also, if they start pushing more to the MVNO side, how is that going to be any different than going to an MNO? So, for them to actually compete, the first thing they got to do is be able to provide that wireless service in a more cost-effective way and cost-effective manner. And then beyond that, leverage the sort of footprint they have within homes and small and medium businesses to deliver more services at a higher quality. So the key for them is really to take that sort of best effort Wi-Fi service and actually make it more optimal, make it more managed than it is today. That's part of it, right? So they have the density now, and a lot of that was driven through that home spot concept with the multiple SSIDs. So I think it's grown even faster than they could have imagined. It's ad hoc. It happens as somebody asks for the service or signs up to use their Wi-Fi access point and opts in for that. All of a sudden, you have another base station. You have another part of your network. So they have the density, they need to kind of evolve, and as does any other cable operator needs to evolve to really actively manage that and give a quality of experience. So what you've seen is a lot of these Wi-Fi first players, whether it be a cable company or Scratch or Republic, one of these other companies have tried to be disruptive, they're coming in at a lower price point. But frankly, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, right? So I'm not going to pay you $5 a month for something that doesn't work, basically. So they need to leverage and be able to provide a better experience than completely unmanaged, just pure, when Wi-Fi is around, use it sort of thing. And I think that actually puts, these cable companies in a strategic advantage against someone like a Republic or a Scratch, because they own the network, or they have the ability to own the network, so they can leverage that more effectively. So as you mentioned, from a competitive landscape, their use, well, really they'll have to rely on Wi-Fi anyway. Their use of that is going to be, could be a strategic differentiator for them. Well, I think it's more about the leveraging of unlicensed spectrum and licensed spectrum, right? So when you look at providing wireless service over time, from a physics perspective, we've reached kind of the pinnacle or diminishing returns on adding more antennas and coming up with new modulation schemes. So the only option is to densify and to use more spectrum. And as operators evolve, they're going to have to use effectively licensed and unlicensed spectrum. So whether it's in the form that we know it as Wi-Fi is today, or some other juxtaposition of licensed and unlicensed spectrum, the unlicensed side of things is going to have to play a role. Because you just don't have infinite amount of spectrum in life, and you're going to have to use as much spectrum as possible and densify the network to deal with the increasing demand, to deal with the number of devices that you're mentioning, to deal with all of that is going to require using whatever spectrum you have available and using. In most cases, that's higher frequency, so you're going to have to go towards a densification strategy. So at the end of the day, I think it may not be Wi-Fi, but it's going to be unlicensed spectrum. I think there's an organizational challenge. So if you go to any mobile network operator today, they are designed and the whole structure of the company is around building base stations for licensed spectrum technology. You've got a radio access network team that's focused on that. Generally speaking, it's completely separate from the Wi-Fi team. So getting them to even organizationally think about how can I use both mediums effectively is something that has to happen as we move forward. Now, whether that again is LT unlicensed or licensed assisted access or some other technology, there's some of that has to occur. I do think some of it is saying, okay, well, Wi-Fi is kind of the Wild West, and I'm not sure I can charge for services on Wi-Fi. I think the foundation of that is you have to provide a reliable, consistent experience on unlicensed spectrum, then you can bill for services. So we spend so much time talking about monetization. I think the only way you get to monetization is by making that network work as close as possible to a traditional cellular network. It's never going to be the same, but you have to get there so you can actually charge someone for that. Versus, if it's best effort, it's unmanaged, then of course you can't charge for it, right? And it's just, what am I paying for at that point in time?